Welcome back to another episode of Think Different Theory. My name is Josh Forty, and honestly, my guest is already on here. I forgot to, switch the screen over, so it was just me. But we've got our guest on here, guys. His name is, which way am I pointing? This way. Joel freaking Kaplan. Joel, welcome back to season 2 of Think Different Theory. I gotta say, before you say anything, before you come on, hold on. Before you talk, listen, dude, you are our number 2 most downloaded episode of season 1 behind Brad Gibb. And I'll let you tell the audience how much that irks you.
Brad Gibbs, I've got 4 awards for you. I'm coming for you.
Guys, welcome back to the show. Think Different Theories. One of our most entertaining guests, Joel Kaplan. Joel, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Josh. Honestly, you're an absolute legend, and I'm just so grateful to be here, and I'm pumped right now. I don't know how you're feeling after seeing Tony Robbins at Funnel Hacking Live,
dude,
but I'm just trying to get into peak state all day, every day, all day, every day.
Dude, he's insane. I've never sat through a full Tony Robbins speech before, and it was on my birthday, by the way. So it's literally my birthday. I'm sitting there. I'm 6 throws into it, and he comes out, and you could feel the energy in that room shift when he walks into that room. It was insane.
Yeah. And I don't know if you picked up on this. There was one moment. It was my biggest takeaway of the whole entire talk when he ran through his affirmation out loud. And I don't know if you picked up on that, but he has a personal affirmation that he goes through, and he shared it with the audience. He just shared it out loud. And the amount of energy that took over his body and his spirit was insane. So what did I do? I walked out and I went and sat down and wrote my affirmation.
I love it. Dude, you're an action taker of all action takers, dude. You're the type of dude that's you're sitting there on stage and Russell will say something or Tony will say something or whatever. And right there, you're let's apply right now.
I was that's it. That's my golden nugget. Let's go.
That's awesome, bro. Second year of Funnel Hacking Live? Third year? How many years have you been going?
Second
year. Was Tony there last year?
No.
He was there 2 years ago in Orlando, but he wasn't. Who was the keynote last year? I wasn't there. You remember? Was it Garrett White? It was probably Garrett White.
I don't know, man. To be honest, I'm so bad. I'm such a bad student, and I feel like this just reflects my entire childhood. I went and I networked 90% of the time.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, dude, that's what you go there for. I mean, I was there. I had some friends on stage. So I had Marley Jackson. Marley Jackson was a friend of mine. Dan Henry and Catherine Jones were all on stage. So obviously I had to be there for their speeches and cheer them on. But other than that, I was I watched Tom Bilyeu, I watched Ryan Holiday, and all the other time I was just networking. I feel like people, they go to conferences, dude, and they try to consume too much information.
Honestly, with Tony, the biggest takeaways were get into peak state, feel really excited, be someone that's at a level 10. And I don't know if you remember, he went around and asked people, oh, what level are you at? And everyone was 6, 7. I said, I think 6. He was no one wants to date a 6.
No one wants to date a 6.
10. And I was I'm going to hype myself up and get to a 10. And then I heard his affirmation. And I was I'm going to take action on that, write the affirmation. Besides that, I left. I got some shit from my friends. They were dude, why'd you leave Tony? I was I got what I needed.
Yeah.
But it was the same thing with all the speakers. Once I have the one thing, if I try to consume way too much, there's just no way I'm going to implement it.
Yeah.
And it's just going to create information overload. And it's going to give my brain a false sense of progress and a false sense of momentum. When in reality, I just need to take that one step forward.
Yeah.
So
I like that a lot too, dude. The false sense of progress. Because I feel that's the problem is people, they go to these events, they get super, super hyped up. And I mean, we all do it. And then, like you just said, we hit this state of oh my God, that's amazing. And then you come home and it's woof. And because your brain has not learned to balance and figure things out like that, it's really, really difficult. So I like that a lot.
And at the end of the day, for me, Funnel Hacking Live is just a big old party with all my good friends.
Yeah.
So it's part of me was you know what, I'm just going to be happy and enjoy this and treat it like a personal development wedding where it's like you have all the people that you care about all there, but you're also growing as an individual.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as like harsh on myself if I missed a speaker. Like I really wanted to see Prince EA. I missed out on him, and I was like, you know what? That's okay, because I still got to connect with some people that I care a lot about. And at the end of the day, if that's not what this is all about, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I agree with that for sure.
I know Steve posted something about like, oh, you paid for this. I'm front row. And I was like, fuck.
Front row, front right. Front right of stage taking notes. And like, once again, to each their own. But Steve's an introvert though. And like Steve is not a networker. And to be fair, Steve is also big enough now to where I don't think Steve can really walk around the halls without like getting a million pictures taken or whatnot. I mean, Steve and Russell are boys. So, I mean, he's up there, he's taking his notes, he's doing his thing. But like, I always love it when people are like, is it worth it for $1,000 to go to Funnel Hacking Live? I'm like, yes, it is. It's worth it just for the connection. I mean, I closed 26,000. I closed $26,000 in deals at Funnel Hacking Live. Okay. Like, where else can you go and hang out and have a party and have a blast and get to see Tony Robbins and Russell and hang out and close that much in deals? Like, it just doesn't exist.
And at the end of the day, like, we are like the online marketers. Like, look at this. I'm like in the office alone. It's like, you need people.
Yeah.
Even if you're an introvert,
you
need people. And these are the people that are going to be there to support you, that are going to be there to be a resource for you when things don't work out. And now, if I have an issue scaling from where I'm at now, like $300,000 a month to $1 million a month, I connected with at least 5 people that were at that level that I can personally reach out to on Facebook and ask them a question.
Yep.
And they would not only know who I am, but would also be willing to help me.
Yeah. Well,
that's not worth $1,000? If that's not worth $1,000, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting direct access to someone that's doing over $10 million a year.
Yeah. Who's the guy that won? There was 2 people that won the $100 million a year award. And one of them, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Yeah. Ariel. Like, the dude.
And guess what? I went up and talked to him. That's the power of Funnel Hacking Live.
You can chill in there.
Yeah.
In the
lobby.
He was
like, I don't know if you know what he does, but I was like, all right, Ariel, like, what do you do, man? And he was like, well, we sell to the government. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, Argentina is my client. And I'm like, the country? He's like, yeah. And then he was like, and we got Chile and Colombia coming on board too. I'm like,
it's insane. When I asked him what he did, his response, I said, dude, you made $100 million. Because he came up to me. Funny story. I went up to him, I was walking by, and I saw him on stage. Keep in mind, I had no idea who this dude was before Funnel Hacking Live. He gets up on stage. I see he's made $100 million, and I immediately like Facebook him, right? And we're friends on Facebook. I was like, oh, that's lit. And so I'm walking, and he comes up to me, and he's like, Josh, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Can we get a picture? And I was like, the heck? Why are you asking for a picture with me, dude? Like, I should be getting a picture with you. You made $100 million. So we get a picture, and I was like, all right, dude, you got to tell me, what do you do? And his response was, absolutely nothing. And I'm like,
really?
I'm like, what? He's like, dude, my team does it all, and that's the key to making $100 million. And I was like,
honestly, man, like what you notice, and I actually saw someone post something like this in the Facebook group for ClickFunnels, and it just resonated so hardcore. The people that are doing everything themselves, that are stressed out, are the ones that are barely scraping by.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the people on stage that are doing the 2 Club X, the 50 million, the 75 million, the 100 million, the farther up the ladder you go, the more removed these people are.
Well,
because they understand the power of leverage.
Yeah.
And they understand the power of using other people's time. So if you were to actually ask me, hey, Joel, how do you make the most out of Funnel Hacking Live and absorb all the information? What I should have done is brought my team and told them to go listen to everything and figure out a way to implement one thing from every single speaker into our business.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because there's absolutely no way that you could go and sit through every single speaker and implement everything.
Right.
Your brain cannot computate that.
Yeah.
But guess what would happen if you had 10 people there learning on your behalf?
Yeah. And they each learned the thing that they were good at. They were focused on the thing that they were doing. Yeah.
So leverage, that's the key to
Leverage.
scaling. Do you see Jeff Bezos writing code now for Amazon?
Why do people have such a hard time with that though, bro? Like, because, okay, so let me tell you this. My big issue was I was like, nobody can do it as good as I can. Why do some people have such a hard time letting go?
Okay, that's a great question. I would say that they don't trust themselves and therefore they can't trust others. I know that's pretty deep, but if you really trusted your process, your strategy, your vision, your decision-making, you would have no problem letting go and passing it off to someone else. And I think that lack of trust in yourself and your own abilities to succeed and execute make you want to just grab everything and take full control. I think that's one thing. And over time, for example, I'm a perfect example here because when I started my agency, it was extremely difficult for me to let go. It was extremely difficult for me to delegate. And I was honestly stressed out all the time.
Yeah.
And I was burnt out. Like I remember days where I would wake up like 8:30 a.m., get breakfast, then go up to my home office and work till I went to sleep.
Yep. Oh, I've been there.
Yeah. And I think it wasn't until I just started to trust myself and the process and what we were building and that everything was going to be okay if I let go.
Yeah.
That I started to actually delegate and allow myself to leverage the power of leverage.
Yeah. And one of the interesting things about this, I was talking to Brad Gibb about this. He called me like 2 or 3 days ago. And I was like, how are you, dude? He's like, dude, I'm doing all right. How are you? I was like, I'm great. And he said, I just went through the most painstaking day ever. And I was like, oh boy, what happened? He's like, we sat down with our team and he's like,
he was like, Joel DM'd me like 8 times. That's why it was so painstaking. Because Joel, Brad, if you're listening right now, I'm trying to get a hold of you, man. I want to give you money.
I'll connect you guys. I know how to get a hold of Brad. I talk to him all the time. And I saw your message, dude. I'm so bad at Facebook messages. It's so terrible. So is Brad. Voxer. That's how you get a hold of me. But I was talking to him and he said he just went through with his team and they dumbed down all of their processes and they're going through and because they want to be able to bring in more coaches. They're scaling fast, right? They won the $10 million a year award and now they're scaling more and more. And so he's like, we're having to bring on coaches and he's like, we don't have time to train them. And so he's like, what we're doing is we're literally going down and they had somebody come in and question, literally, they would walk them through the process and they questioned every single step. So they're like, oh, why did you decide to do that? Why did you decide to do that? Oh, why is that one there? Oh, how would we do this? And he's like, the whole entire day, and we got like 3 hours worth of work done, even though we were at it the entire day. And I was like, that sounds painful. He's like, yeah, but when it's all said and done, he's like, now we're going to have the system and process down in such a way that I can remove myself from it. And he's like, and most people, and he said this and it like hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, this is the problem with most people. He's like, most people aren't willing to go through that painstaking process of figuring out all the holes in their thing because they think that they're the only ones that would ever be able to figure it out and understand it. And he's like, when I just finally went and did it, he's like, it's going to be so freaking good when it's all said and done. And I was like, boom, right then and there. That's how you go and are able to remove yourself from the process. But most people just aren't willing to do the work.
Definitely. Like, for example, let's say that I hire an account manager, right?
Yeah.
And they cost me $3,000 to $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
Most people are freaking out being like, oh my God, that's a huge amount of money. I can't delegate that. But if you trusted in your ability to close more deals because you outsourced that task and now freed your time, then you would be totally willing to hire an account manager and go into the red, maybe even so, because you would eventually have the time to go and sell more.
Yeah.
But I think that lack of trusting in yourself and what you're doing is what ultimately prevents you deep down psychologically.
Yeah.
So for example, it's like right now we're scaling new agencies and we're building the entire team and delegating it all out right from the start. We have an account manager, we have a marketing manager, we have a closer, and we have one VA. And we're essentially
to do everything, or to do this new agency?
Every time we're essentially launching, our goal is to launch a new agency every 120 days, every 4 months. And we're going to obviously oversee that team, but they're going to be doing the day-to-day. Now, a lot of people would have a very hard time letting go of all those things, because what if it doesn't work? Now they're in the red. Now it's like, oh my God, I've lost a lot of money, which ultimately comes down to not trusting yourself and what you're doing, and trusting the process.
Yeah.
But if you truly trusted the power of what you're building, then you would have no problem going into the red, hiring these people, knowing that in 60 or 90 days, it's going to turn into a profitable cash cow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay.
Did I explain myself well there?
Yes. I think that the next step of this conversation is we got to talk about what you do, right? So like the pitch of this was Joel Agency is an agency, or Joel Agency. Joel Kaplan is an agency owner. Tell us what you do though, because you kill it, dude. Like, you are insane when it comes to this. Give us a little bit of the backstory of what you do, who you are, and like kind of your skills and expertise. Because one of the things that I really like about you is you have extreme focus in a certain area, but then like once you got to that point, like you're not against doing multiple things. You're against doing multiple things at once. And it was so interesting to see how like you pivoted and you're like, okay, we built this up and then we went to here and we built this one up and now we're doing this. So like explain to people what you do, how you do it, and like what makes you so special with you.
Great question. So at the core of everything, my mission is to make money and make a difference. I believe that if we increase our financial status, we're going to have more leverage to make a difference and make an impact in this world. At the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. How do I do that? The way I do that is, number one, I run a 7-figure agency. It's called Atlas Digital. We do about $250,000 a month, not including ad spend. So if you include ad spend, it's probably more like $350,000 a month. And I'm also launching new agencies. And the reason why I'm launching new agencies is because we have created the blueprint to essentially scale an agency to 7 figures and then automate it and remove ourselves from the process. Now, that was the whole vision for the past 3 years. And about 6 to 12 months ago, I started getting very frustrated with the coaching industry. And I was tired of seeing all these agency owners that built an agency to like $10,000 a month, that now we're creating courses and coaching people on how to do the same. And I remember looking at them and being like, this is not ethical.
Isn't that the worst?
I have an agency doing 25 times as much that I'm still currently running, where I don't even have to show up. And these people are giving out the wrong advice. So then I decided that I have the power to really make a dent in the coaching space and really make a difference in people's lives. So I started a coaching program called 7-Figure Agency, where we help people start and scale agencies to 7 figures using the exact same blueprint that we use to scale our own agencies. And I'd say the most important piece of this entire thing is, number one, I'm currently practicing what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
So all the information that I share with my students is the most up to date. It is not what worked last week. It is not what worked yesterday. It's what's working today.
Yeah. And that's huge.
Number two, now that I have a 7-figure cash cow that's automated, I can really think long-term about my students and go above and beyond to help them. So I'd say that's pretty much what I do. I start and scale agencies, and I teach people how to do the same thing.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. How did you get started in this though? Because I know a little bit of your backstory, and for those of you that have listened to the first episode that we did together, we talked about this a little bit, but like for those people that are out there, it's how old are you?
27.
So you're 27, you're doing $250,000 a month.
I don't know why I want to say 28. Like someone at Funnel Hacking Live was like, how old are you? I kept saying 28. I was like, wait, no.
When's your birthday?
May 11th, 1992. I'm 27.
All right. So May 11th, you'll be 28. I just turned 26. Okay. So, for those people that are out there that have like been struggling at this, or that are still trying to figure out like, man, is this even possible for me? Where did you start? Like, how did you get into this?
Yeah, I think we all have this calling, right? That there's something bigger and better out there when we're working at our 9-to-5s. And it's like this spirit that's like telling you, hey, if you don't go out there and try to build your own thing and build your own dreams, like you're going to have a regret for the rest of your lives. And that's, I don't know if you've experienced that feeling, if you ever worked a 9-to-5, but I definitely had that feeling.
What were you doing? What was your 9-to-5 before this?
It was a marketing job.
Okay.
It was a marketing job. And like I kept thinking to myself every day, like I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. And actually a few years back, I had started another company, but once I graduated college, I did go to school, even though I don't really believe in the education system. But I did go to college, and my parents pretty much begged me to get a job. They were like, please at least work for 2 years before you do this entrepreneurship thing. Give it at least 2 years, get some experience. And I'm actually really grateful that they did, because it gave me a different perspective. But those 2 years were very difficult. I was a very, I rebelled a lot at work. I always kind of did my own thing. I ignored what my peers told me to do. And I really struggled because I knew I was meant for something bigger. I knew I was meant for something greater. And I knew that if I didn't take the leap and quit my 9-to-5 and go for it, I would regret it for the rest of my life. And I always had, side hustles here and there. I was doing some marketing gigs. I was doing some consulting. At some point, I started an e-commerce shop. And then I went to a meetup, and I met this weird guy named Marcos, who ended up being my business partner. And we were at the meetup, and I'm a very confident guy. I do have a bit of an ego. And the guy at the meetup, it was a marketing meetup, had no idea what he was talking about. He had no idea what he was talking about.
Marcos or the other?
No, the guy that was running the meetup.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, like, I was an asshole. Like, I called him out hardcore. And I was like, dude, you have no idea what you're talking about. You should not be running this meetup. And then Marcos was like, oh, I like that guy, pointing to me. It's like, this guy knows what he's talking about, because he's calling this guy out in front of all these people at a meetup. Again, I'm not proud of that behavior, but it is what it is. I was much younger. I was probably a bit insecure at that time about where I was at and what I was capable of. But then Marcos was like, yo, Joel, let's go get some coffee. And then we started talking. Then eventually we met up a few times. And I think the fourth time we met, he was like, yo, I just landed like 3 new clients last week. And it pissed me off so much. I was like, how the hell is this? He was like 21, this 21-year-old landing clients when he knows nothing about marketing, because Marcos also didn't know anything about marketing, which is why he wanted to bring me on board.
Right.
And he was like, yo, I was like, how the hell is this guy landing clients?
Right.
He doesn't know anything about marketing. He's worse than the guy at the meetup, and it like drove me nuts inside. And I think it lit a fire, and it made me really want to be a part of it. So then eventually I was like, all right, Marcos, if we hit 10K a month, I quit my job and come and do this thing with you. And he was like, all right, sweet. I'd say not even 2 weeks later, we hit 10K a month. It was like some miracle that like came down, and just everything lined up perfectly. We hit 10K a month. And you'd think that it just took off from here. It didn't. There was some crazy down periods, which I'll get to. But I was like, all right, well, we hit 10K a month. I'm going to go ahead and quit my job. So I went into work the next day, put in my 2 weeks notice, quit my job. I quit my job. 2 weeks later, we're back down to $3,000 a month. We lost like most of the clients. So now I'm freaking out. I lost my job. I left my job.
But okay, okay. So let me stop you right there. You quit your job. You're feeling pretty confident, obviously, because woohoo, $10,000 a month, right? Which we know now it ain't squat, especially for 2 people. You got taxes in there, you got costs in there. I mean, like 10,000 isn't a whole lot of money. Now you're back down to 3,000 a month. Are you like, oh my gosh, I gotta go get a job again? Or are you like, I'm committed to figuring this out?
Not yet. I had not reached the point where I was like, I need to get a job.
Okay.
We stuck it out, I'd say, for like 90 days, and it just was not clicking. Like for 3 months, it was not clicking. It was not clicking. It was not clicking. And this is where eventually I got to the point, and I think I mentioned this on the last podcast. I was so stressed out and I was so defeated that I went ahead and filled out a job application.
Oh, wow. So you did get to that point.
I eventually did. Not at the 3K mark.
Right.
Once we hit 3K, I was like, okay, well, this is not what I signed up for.
Right.
We just dropped from 10K to 3K. We lost like 3 clients just like that.
Right.
They didn't re-up the following month. And I was freaking out. And I decided, you know what, we're going to stick through this. But I'd say 90 days later, things had not clicked and things had not evolved. And I remember calling my dad and being like, Dad, should I fill out a job application? And he was like, well, fill it out, go take the interview, but continue to write it out. He said, you can definitely fill out the job application, but continue to write it out. And I filled out the job application. I even submitted a personalized video to stand out because I was desperate. I was very stressed out. I was very insecure. I did not believe in myself at that point in time. And luckily, they turned me down. I'm so grateful. It was like a sign from above. I am so grateful that they turned me down. I remember calling my dad back and saying, hey, they said no. He said, okay, Joel, write it out for just another month. And in that month, we took off.
Wow.
And
so what changed in that month that allowed you to go and take off?
That's a great question. We definitely committed to going to BNI and like stepping our game up. And by taking off, I mean like we got to like 15K a month. We landed like 6 or 7 clients. I'm not. We didn't get to 250,000.
Right, but you started that trajectory of like, okay, now things are starting to click. Now I understand. Okay, we got to do this, and you started having momentum in the right direction to where you started believing in yourself again.
We committed hardcore to BNI. I started going to BNI. So now it wasn't only Marcos going, it was also me going. So we doubled our input in terms of going to
and BNI is?
Great question. This is why you're here to help clarify. Because these are the things that I don't think to clarify.
Right. That's why I'm here to ask you questions.
BNI is a local networking group where you meet with other business owners in your area.
Okay.
And you essentially, it's a referral network. They refer business to you. You refer business to them. You land a few of them as clients. They land you as a client. So by having me and Marcos go, we doubled our presence because we went to 2 separate groups. I think I landed like 3 or 4 clients that in that 1 month. He landed like 3 or 4 clients. And that's kind of what took us to that next little level. But I think the reason why I share this story, Josh, is because a lot of people look at me now and they think maybe I have some unique advantage. Maybe I have some unique ability. But the reality is, like, I was in a state where I almost quit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I have a 7-figure business that's fully automated, and I almost gave up on that.
Yeah. Well, you're a multi 7-figure at this point.
Yeah, multi 7-figure. And I have another 7-figure business. So not just 1, but 2. And I almost gave up on that. And it just makes me wonder, like, what is possible if we just keep going and push through that pain and push through those challenges?
What do you think though is the like, cause like something clicked, right? And okay, yeah, it was you landed a client, or I mean, like, yes, there's the outward thing that clicked, right? But like I feel like there's a time that in every success story's journey, right, where something goes and clicks inside of them, inside of you, that goes, okay, like this is the thing that ultimately like shifted for me. And like, I think that for some people, you do need to focus on the exterior of like, hey, just get that first client, or hey, just do that. But I think for most people, especially the people that have been in the game for a while, there's a mental shift that happens. And if we can figure out what that mental shift is, then everything else kind of falls into place from that. What do you think that mental shift is?
Obviously, there's a lot of factors, but, and I don't want to say it's this one thing.
Right.
But like looking back, I remember when I didn't land the job, I told myself, okay, I'm going to go all in. And like Tony Robbins talks about burning the ships, going all in on your mission no matter what. I think that mental shift happened in some way, shape, or form.
Interesting.
And I think when we just started the agency, I was still kind of in and out. Should I do this? Should I not do this? The fact that I was thinking about applying for a job and that was in my subconscious shows you that I wasn't all in.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think once I didn't get the job, and I remember speaking with my dad, and he said, just write it out for another 4 weeks. That's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to go all in no matter what.
Yeah. Well,
or at least started moving in that direction. I'm sure it was not like an overnight thing, like going from someone that's not as confident, insecure, to just all of a sudden, I'm all in, rah, rah, rah. I don't think it was overnight, but I do think there was a shift in that direction that really turned the page for me.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I was watching an interview on impact theory one time with John C. Maxwell. I mean, expert in leadership. I mean, probably the top leadership coach in the world. And he was sharing like his story about how actually, I think the episode just came out about how he got into leadership. And they said if you studied leadership, or if you study any subject for 1 hour a day, every single day, in 5 years, you would become an expert at it, right? And so he started going through, and he said about 2.5 years into studying it, he kept asking himself the question like, all right, like, when am I going to be a great leader? When am I going to be a great leader? When am I going to be a great leader? And eventually he started asking himself the question of like, okay, wow, like how far can I go with this, right? And there was this mental shift, and he said that's the day that everything changed for me, because he changed the target, he changed the goal, right? He changed what it was after. And I think that a lot of times in the agency world or in the entrepreneurship world or wherever, it's, we can tell ourselves like, when am I going to get to 10K? When am I going to get to 10K? When am I going to get to 10K? And we struggle because we're so distraught of like, man, we think it should happen now, or we think we should do this. But if you change the target, if you change what you're going after, and you make this mental decision to say, okay, not when can I get to 10K, it's like, how am I going to get to 10K, right? And or whatever that question shift is, and reset the target and reset the goal to not be when the ultimate goal is $10,000 rather than the immediate goal is $10,000. I think those are two very key different things. Like the ultimate goal has to be bigger than that. That 10K mark or whatever that is just needs to be a step. You know what I mean?
100%. And also, just to add to that, I think evolving as a human being. And I think we talked about this on the last episode. If you want to be a 7-figure entrepreneur, you have to be a 7-figure human being.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Tony Robbins has all these like $50 million companies.
Yeah.
Because as a human being, he has evolved to be able to earn the right to that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the shifts, like every single shift in my agency, yes, there were some technical things that we changed. And yes, there's a blueprint. And yes, all that external stuff is out there. But I think also I truly leveled up as a human being, because the person I am today looks absolutely nothing like the person that started the agency almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
You would, before, if you told me that I had to delegate something, I would freak out and get upset, like get mad at you. Now, if you tell me that I have to do something, I freak out and get mad at you.
That's a fundamentally different shift right there. And I think that, for those of you that have never, or for the people out there that have never delegated something before and understand the power of that, it's actually a really good thing, because like, it's not that you're lazy. It's not that you aren't willing to do the work, because you are. It's the fact that like, I think, and I'd love for you to speak on this a little bit more, but like, you're actually doing the business and your clients and everybody else a disservice by doing things that you shouldn't be focusing on, because you've got to be focusing on the thing that's ultimately going to make your business and service best. And there's someone that does something every single day. And if you take that away from them, you're going to script the system, you're going to script the process, you're going to script the results. Like, you've got to follow through on things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to determine your highest value task. And that thing evolves over time, right? Your highest value task when you're just starting out is most likely sales. When you run a 7-figure business, my highest value task could literally be reading books and thinking about the future.
Yeah.
That may possibly be my highest value task.
Yep.
So if you really want to create the best product, the best service for your clients and serve them at the highest level possible, you need to really understand what your highest value task is and delegate everything else.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. And obviously it's not perfect, but in every little place where I can do that, I definitely do it. For example, right now I want to really blow up my Facebook group and create more content. I'm hiring someone just to manage that entire process, because I know for a fact that even having me reach out to people to schedule the interviews and all that stuff is not the highest value thing that I can do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super interesting that you say that too. I was talking to Dan Henry at Funnel Hacking Live, and we were talking about, like, you know, his processes and stuff like that. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, I was sitting on a call one time, and he said, I started asking people for $50,000 rather than $30,000. Right. And he's like, that was the only shift. One day I was just sick and tired of selling stuff for $30,000. So I got on the phone and I was like, it's $50,000 to join my whatever now or whatever. And he goes through, he's like, that was a good week. We punched in an extra, I think he said it was an extra $100,000 or something that week that they put into it. And then at the end of that, now keep in mind, this dude just told me that because he was the one sitting on those calls and doing it, that they punched in an extra $100,000 of what they would have done over that, right? Or over the normal. And then he goes, but honestly, dude, I don't have time to set on my own sales calls. He's like, it's a waste of time for me. I need to be putting my time elsewhere. And I was like,
I agree.
Like I hear that and I go, but it hit me because I was like, that just shows you
there's
the power of leverage.
You just get me so excited, Josh.
Okay, go for it.
I feel like this happened last time. There's been people that want to join my coaching program where I know I could easily take a 10-minute call and enroll them and not have to pay out $1,500 commissions to my sales guy. But that's not the best use of my time.
Yeah.
I know that if I stick to a habit where I'm jumping in, not only am I not freeing myself over time to spend all of my energy on my highest value task, I'm also telling my team that I don't believe in them and that I don't trust them to do it without me.
Yep.
And that is extremely dangerous.
Yep. I think, do you know Taylor Welch?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was talking to him, and he's like, one of the biggest things that people fail to do is they fail to look at the second and third and fourth orders of consequences of their actions. And he's like, everybody goes and looks at the first order. And so it's like, you know, he used the example of, you know, oh, if I eat this cookie, or if I don't work out today, that's not a big deal, right? But you don't look at the second, third, and fourth one. But then he's like, where people miss it even more is when the action that they take, they think is a good thing. For example, what you're saying right there of, what the heck? I could just jump in and take this call. I know for sure I would close it. I'd save myself $1,500, and I could either pay myself that commission, or rather than 2 hours on a call or an hour on a call, it'd only take me 10 minutes. That seems like a good use of my time. And in the first order of consequences of your actions, it looks good. And maybe even the second order of consequences. But what you said, the third, the fourth, the habits that you're creating, the fact that you're allowing yourself to even think about jumping into those calls means that your mind is not on a state of scaling or on growth or doing what it is that you need to do. And keep in mind, like at the beginning, when you're just starting out with your business, if that's where you need to be, great. But when this minute, and I'm curious, I'm actually really, really curious about this for you when it comes to what you teach people to do in the scaling process. The minute that you have the cash flow that you need and that you can remove yourself from the process and you're not, is the minute that you start hurting yourself. So like, how do you teach people, like, at what point should they be hiring a salesperson? At what point should they be scaling?
If you have no capital to invest, sorry, you're going to have to put in the work and do it yourself, unfortunately.
Yep.
If you have the capital to invest, you have to treat your business like a real estate investment, where you put in the team, you put in the infrastructure, you delegate everything out, even if that means going into the red for just a little bit. so that in a few months you walk away with a profitable business that doesn't rely on you. So if you have the capital to invest, you build the entire machine to function without you. And you only focus on the things that are the highest value to the organization.
So at what point do you consider making the switch over? Like, let's say I'm broke, right? I'm a new agency owner and I've got $3,000 in my bank account, right? I have no money. So I'm going to go and I'm going to set up my LLC and I'm going to go out and get my first client or whatever. At what point do I make the switch and start hiring in other people?
My whole philosophy is, as soon as you have $500 a month to spend, you need to hire a virtual assistant. That's your very first hire. If you're broke, you don't have money, as soon as you have $500
a month,
again, $500 a month. Again, if you trust in yourself and in your ability to generate more business by delegating things out, then I would put all that money into a virtual assistant. This virtual assistant is going to be in charge of prospecting and doing all of the manual labor behind reaching out to potential businesses. That's your very first hire. As soon as you scale up to, I'd say, like $10K a month, and you have a consistent way of generating appointments, then if you're really good at sales, you need to hire an account manager ASAP. If you're not good at sales, you want to hire a closer. Then as soon as you get overwhelmed with client management, the moment that happens, then you hire an account manager if you haven't already. And then you start bringing in VAs on an as needed basis to do fulfillment.
Sorry, go ahead.
If you had capital, the way that we build agency teams is we start a brand new agency. We just launched a new agency, for example, 3 days ago. We already are paying an account manager. We're already paying a closer. We're already paying a virtual assistant. We're already paying a marketing manager before it even launched.
Because you have capital. Because you have capital.
And it's at about, like, I'd say without ad spend, that costs us about $12,000 a month, maybe $10,000 a month. With ad spend, and by ad spend, I mean ad spend to get us clients, we're spending about $25,000 a month in that business. Those are just the expenses. So we need about 15 to 20 clients to break even. And then anything after that is pure profit. But we know, because we trust in our abilities, that we can get to 50 clients within 90 days. And now we have something that after expenses is already profiting us $20,000 a month, not doing anything ourselves.
Yeah. How many clients can typically an account manager handle?
100.
Really? That many?
If you have good systems in place and if all they do is account management, then 100. The problem is that most agencies hire an account manager to do more things than just client communication, and client relationship. So our account managers are only in charge of a few things. Onboarding calls. So they get on a call with every new client, they onboard them, they make sure everything is good to go, they have everything they need to succeed. They do check-in calls, and they do client communication. So emails, support tickets, all that stuff. But that's the only thing they do.
Interesting. How often are you checking in with your clients?
Once a month, mandatory check-in, and then on an as-needed basis.
Can the client just schedule a call with the account manager whenever?
Whenever they want.
I like that a lot. That is super. Because most businesses are, I mean, it's just not coaching. It's client work, right? So it's not like they're going to be calling them every day or every week or whatever. They're just going to be checking in as needed.
Depends on the client.
Huh?
Depends on the client.
Well, right. The ideal client, at least. How are you doing prospecting? I mean, I know you have your VA do it, but is that through Facebook ads? Or are you doing cold outreach? Like, what are you doing?
That's a great question. It depends if you have money or if you don't have money to invest. Again, there's two ways to build an agency. If you have capital, and if you're just starting out and you don't have capital to invest. If you have capital to invest, the way we grow agencies, this is our secret 3 ways to land. Like we're probably landing, like last month we got 37 new clients.
Wow.
Which is absolutely insane. That's
congratulations, bro.
Yeah, dude. That's more than a client a day. That's
insane. It really is, man. And just real quick, what do you charge your clients? Was it like $1,500 a month, $2,000?
$2,500.
$2,500 a month. Okay, $2,500 a month. And it's lead generation.
Lead gen, yeah.
Okay.
And our big three, if you have money to invest, it's paid ads. So we run ads to get clients for ourselves. Number two, going to events like conferences, selling at a booth. We do that like once per quarter, just because it gives you a really nice client injection.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And then referrals. We have a top secret referral program that like spits out new clients like crazy. For example, we did a referral contest in December, and one guy referred, I think, like over 50 people over email. It's nuts. So those are the big three if you have capital to invest. If you don't have capital to invest, I recommend picking 5 channels for prospecting where your VA is going to reach out on your behalf. Could be cold email, LinkedIn, Facebook page DMs, Instagram page DMs, and just friending people in your niche on Facebook and sending them a DM once they accept your friend request. And your VA is doing this on your behalf every single day. And that's why your first hire needs to be a virtual assistant for prospecting, because they would be in charge of those 5 things every single day. Now, this is all outbound, so it's tougher. It's not, the lead will never be as warm as if they come to you through a referral or through an ad or at an event. But if you don't have money, that is going to be the fastest way to plant a ton of seeds and have those seeds turn into clients.
Yeah.
So,
What's your average cost to acquire a customer or acquire a client on paid ads?
like $900.
Really? That's not terrible at all. That's super good.
We also are in like heavy, let's dominate and overspend everyone just so that we can take control of the market, essentially.
I mean, that's what Russell Brunson talks about, man. I mean, he has said what 1,000,000 times. If I can outspend to acquire a customer, I'll win every time.
And like now we have momentum that's only possible through spending that much. Like now people see us and they're like, oh, it's Atlas. Or, oh, like I've seen you guys for forever.
Yeah.
It creates a psychological shift.
With authority, yeah, for sure.
And authority, that's what it is. And I would say it could definitely be lower, but we don't care. Like we're spending a ton of like brand awareness, retargeting ads just to be everywhere at all places at all times.
Yeah, for sure. And like, honestly, like who cares? I mean, $2,500 a month, $900 for a client. I mean, you're profitable month 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we've had clients stay up to we've had clients stay from the beginning, like up to 3 years now. So
wow, that's awesome. That means you're providing a good service. What do you think is the biggest struggle for people in the agency space for keeping clients?
It's a great question. I believe that retention is not a matter of results; it's a matter of psychology.
Interesting.
So here, actually, let me pull up my retention formula. I have it written down. Where is it? I could actually break it down for you guys. Okay. Number 1, focus the relationship above all else. I think a lot of people get a client, they're like, oh, I'm going to send them leads or book appointments for them. Yeah. And they forget about the relationship. I have clients that even up until this day, even though I have removed myself from the agency and I don't have to touch a thing, I still maintain a solid relationship. Because I know that I was their first touch point when they joined us over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I would be an asshole if I just ghosted them.
Yeah.
So the very first pillar to retention is relationships. Number 2, flawless onboarding. Our very first month has to be perfect. It absolutely has to be perfect. We cannot screw up the first 30 days.
Yeah, that's huge.
We make it very clear to our account managers. I don't care if you screw up 3 months in. I don't care if there's a little technical error. I want the first month, that first impression, to be flawless. And I think a lot of people don't have a flawless onboarding process. They send out this Google form. It's like it's a little awkward. It's not clear.
Yeah.
The client's confused. By the time the client's confused, you've already lost it. They're already doubting you.
Yeah.
You started the campaign.
Yeah.
So flawless onboarding. Number 3, over communication. We believe in always being one step ahead. So for example, let's say you lose your entire business manager, which has happened to us. Instead of just pretending like nothing happened, which a lot of people do, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to wait here, like scared, nervous, and see if anyone reaches out to me. Instead of doing that, we take a proactive approach, and we'll reach out to every single client and say, hey, we're having technical issues. We are on top of it. We're going to be sending you updates. If you need anything at all, just email us at our support email. And we're going to credit you for every single day that the ads are stopped. And instead of them freaking out and being upset with us for this entire shit show, they're actually extremely grateful.
Yeah.
And it helps us build trust. So over communication, always being one step ahead. And I can go a little faster through these. Setting great expectations. I am like super, super, super strict on setting great expectations.
Yeah.
We make our clients sign an expectations agreement.
That's huge. That's huge. And I think that's super important. And because, so I deal with a lot of like high ticket client type stuff. And a lot of people automatically assume that because they pay a lot of money that they get more access to you, or they can call you whenever you want or whatnot. Like I like almost try to disqualify my people like during those during the sales call and the first week. Like anytime where they even just step over the line just a little bit, I go, hey, this was the expectation, this was the agreement. And we over deliver obviously and make sure that they're happy and satisfied. But having clear expectations and agreements of how communication is going to go and what they can expect, and sticking to those. I think it's almost just as hard for us as business owners to stick to strict expectations as it is for the person to get used to that. But once that's there, I feel like there's this beautiful relationship of like, oh, no, that's not what I paid him for or her for. Like, this is what I'm going to expect. And then if I need more than that, I expect to have to pay more.
And I think, like, for example, a lot of lead gen agencies are like, oh, my clients don't follow up with the leads. My clients don't follow up with the leads. My clients don't follow up with the leads. And then they start to blame me. And this is why they leave. Well, we have our clients sign an agreement where they check off a box saying that they're going to follow up 10 times before giving up on a lead.
That's awesome.
And then they sign it. It's in a DocuSign. So it's like, let's say that you then check on their spreadsheet and you realize, oh my God, they're only following up one time. Then I could say, look, Dr. John, you signed the agreement. You know what you need to do in order to succeed.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So setting great expectations. I don't know if you want me to keep going through this. We can, or we can.
No, could do a couple more. Yeah.
Let's see. Always having something new. Again, we want to keep these people excited. This is a long-term relationship. They did not sign up for one thing that they just get and keep paying you for the next 5 years. You need to psychologically get them excited. Like, that's just how we are as human beings.
Yeah.
And this is why I say all the time, this is actually something that our COO came up with, but now I'm stealing it. And she says, retention is not a matter of results. It's a matter of psychology. I've had clients leave me that got a 12x return.
It's crazy.
They made 12. They put in $1. They got 12 back and they still left. I've also had clients that are barely making it work and they stick for a long time because they know that this has massive potential for them. So of course results matter and you have to deliver a great product and service, but it's a matter of psychology at the end of the day. So always having something new. And then I'd say the next, I'll just wrap up with two more.
Yeah.
Always innovating your product, adding more value, having the best product or service in the world. Everyone talks about some magic pill to retention. You know what? The magic pill is just being better.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I agree with that.
For a long time, marketers were complaining that their clients couldn't close the leads. And I remember having a conversation with Marcos, my business partner. We were like, yo, this is a massive opportunity because everyone else is complaining about this. But if we can solve that issue for clients and help them close the leads, then we're going to have a better product and service than everyone else. So just always, always, always innovating your product and service and figuring out ways to add more value and taking every single complaint, issue, error, lack of results, and using that as data to make your product and service even stronger.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. Man, that's fire, dude.
Yeah, so this is all a presentation that I make my account managers go through. Any new account managers has to sit through this.
That's awesome.
They just hear me yell for an hour.
What would you say is your biggest piece of advice for somebody in the agency space? Like they're just getting started, or no, let's say they've had some success. Let's say they're $10,000 a month, right? They've got 3-4 clients, maybe 5. They're struggling with retention, maybe, but they're at that $10,000-ish hump, and they want to start scaling. They want to go to $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month. What's your number one piece of advice for them?
It's a great question. I think once you get to that point, you start to want to fill up your brain with more information and be extremely proactive. When in that moment, you still can't afford to be proactive. You still have to be reactive. So for example, I had a student come to me just the other day, and he's worried about all these things that do not matter right now. He's like, well, and because once you get to 10K a month, you have a little bit more time. You're a little bit more confident. You almost take your foot off the pedal a little bit. And you have to make sure to accelerate at maximum speed, continue to focus on setting and closing appointments as your number one priority. And continue to play the game from a reactive standpoint instead of a proactive standpoint. Because again, this is the level where most people are like, okay, now I have the time to redesign my logo, rebuild my website,
but
do all this. Yeah, do all these things that do not matter. I've had so many students at 10K a month that come to me, and now they're like, well, I hired you for the systems. Isn't it time for me to build the systems? I'm like, no. If you want to build maybe 1 system or 2 systems and delegate 1 or 2 things, that's fine. But right now, we still need to focus on setting and closing appointments like our life depends on
it. Yep. I like that a lot. That's super. I like what you said about they start to try to be proactive when they still have to operate like they're reactive. And for those of you that are listening right now or watching, like really think about that and really focus on that, because there's a fundamental difference in how you operate when you're proactive versus reactive. And a lot of people think that reactive is a bad thing, but at the beginning and when you're scaling, like when you are proactive, I believe that you slow down on a lot of things. And while that's not always bad when you're at a certain point, reactive says, I'm going to continue to go and execute and go and deal with problems as they arise. I'm not going to get freaked out and try to spot problems before they're there. At some point in your business, when you're doing $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month, then you can start afford to be proactive, and you can put people in place that will allow you. They will be reactive, and you will be the one that's proactive. But until you get to that point, I think it's huge to operate in that reactive state, which is opposite what I think a lot of people think.
I'd say $50,000 a month. Consistent $50,000 months in your agency, that's when you start becoming proactive. And you're like, okay, let me take a step back. Let me really build out the systems. Let me start to really build out the team. But until then, the biggest mistake I see is all these people doing 10, 20, or even 30K a month. They're worrying about things that haven't even happened.
Yeah.
And I would much rather them deal with issues as they come and clear up that brain space and funnel it into focusing on setting and closing appointments.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And not worrying about like, well, I have to build the SOPs right now. I'm like, you still only have 5 clients. Let's worry about the SOPs and the systems when you literally can't handle it. And again, if you don't have the capital to invest into a team up front, you have to be willing to eat crap.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to suffer through the pain of scaling a 7-figure business and then automating.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people at 10K a month, they get like that first bit of success and they're like, oh, I made it. Now I can focus on removing myself. Now I can focus on all these things that you haven't earned the right to focus on.
Yep. That's big.
So,
dude, what's next for you? You're rich now. because you make all this
It's
money.
all
And it's
relative.
great. And, right. But I mean, you're doing big things for sure. You're well on your path to being a very successful human being, very wealthy human being. What's next? Like what's the 3-year, 5-year, 10-year goal down the road from this? Is I mean, is it just continue to scale this, start more agencies? Is there a buyout plan? Do you want to? I mean, is it to sell and travel the world and Dan Henry style? You know, like peace out and never talk to anybody again, or like what's the big goal?
Okay, that's a great question. Here's my vision. Within the next 5 years, we're going to scale 50 agencies to 7 figures. They're each going to be doing about $50K a month in profit. Any more after that is kind of unnecessary. We'd rather go horizontal and scale that up. My coaching program is going to be scaled up to 8 figures. I want that to be an 8-figure company. And then I'm going to take all that cash and all that leverage, invest it into cash flowing real estate, and then create secured income for the rest of my life, which will then allow me to focus on solving massive problems in the education space.
I love this so much. I feel like we're going to work together in the future, bro. Education is my passion, dude.
And I've spoken to I actually came when I at the beginning of this interview, I talked about doing marketing. Ever since my first job, I've only worked in education technology companies. So I was very passionate about solving issues in the education space. And I actually worked for a company that created a personality test for teachers and students to better understand each other, which I loved. But the problem that I saw is that they were always running out of money. So they didn't have leverage to actually focus long-term and giving everything they've got to solving the educational problem. And that's where my mission of making money and making a difference came from, because I quickly realized that if I want to tackle a massive problem, I need a crap ton of money.
You need a lot of money.
Crap ton of leverage.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know Blake Newbar, but
yeah, dude.
Same exact vision. He actually started a content company in the education space, and he realized I'm going up against like a mammoth. Like
you're going like it was the most difficult probably system in the whole world. The education system, yeah.
And I think like Tom Bilyeu is doing it correctly. I think,
dude, hold on. Did you see his speech?
I did not.
Dude, oh my gosh, it was my favorite one of all Funnel Hacking Live. He gets done and he goes, I always had a goal. And I don't cuss, so I'm not going to use his exact words, but he said, I always had a goal. He's like, I was going to create a big, huge company. I was going to sell it for a lot of money. And then I was going to use that money to go start a company that was going to become the next Disney. And I knew I needed a studio to do that. So I was going to make a bunch of money in a company. I was going to sell it. I was going to build a studio. And then I'm going to go out and make the next Disney. And then he stands up on stage and he goes, guess what I'm doing? And it was like the exact thing. I mean, he built Quest to a $1 billion company, sold it, has the studio, doing impact theory, and on his way to do that next thing. And I love that. When you have a vision, when you have a goal, and you know what you're doing, it is incredible. It's insane what you can accomplish.
That's the key. And I know that the educational problem will take years. It's not and by years, I mean decades.
Yeah.
It could take the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So if I'm not set up to be able to take care of myself first in order to focus on that long term, then I will fail.
Yep.
So my mission right now is the next 3 to 5 years is simple. It's just to stack as much cash as possible while continuing to serve my clients and my students at the highest level possible. Then eventually go into cash flowing real estate, which secure. PayPal was not solving a massive problem. It's very valuable. It wasn't solving a problem he was truly passionate
right
about. He was just securing income for himself so that he can leverage that to go out and recruit and build something that could actually solve a huge
problem, which he's inspiring, dude. Like that guy's insane. Like for real. Joel, thank you so much for coming on. It's been overtime already, but it feels like it went so fast. This was incredible. And we didn't even get to go through, guys, we had this whole entire thing planned. We were going to go through like a checklist and a sheet from Joel. We'll send that out to everybody. We'll use it as a little lead magnet or something for you guys to listen to the episode. But dude, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been a pleasure. Any last words or anything that you want to share with people about anything?
Floor's open, whatever I want.
Floor is open. Anything you want, bro.
Got a $9.97 course. Buy it right now. No, just kidding. No.
And there's the pitch.
Buy it now. Limited time offer expiring in 10, 9, 8.
You didn't even give him a buy link, bro.
Let's see. Guys, if you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, @official Joel Kaplan, @official Joel Kaplan. Got a Facebook group called Marketing Agency Secrets. Go check that out. And if you want to learn more about scaling an agency, just shoot me with a DM, and I'm more than happy to help out.
I love it. I love it. Joel, thank you so much for your time. Guys, if you want to learn how to scale an agency the right way, Joel is someone I highly recommend and endorse. I've known Joel for almost 2 years now. I think the first time we ever met actually was at, JR's? I think it was JR's event down in Atlanta. And you were just like this hyped up energy dude. And I was like, oh, this dude seems cool. And sure enough, I mean, look at you now. So he's someone that I've literally watched build this up from going and figuring it out to now having this. And he's someone that does it the right way. It's legit. He's not hype. He's not fluff. And he's not just trying to sell you a program. I mean, he's actually going through and doing it like he says. He makes most of his money through the actual agency work. So Joel, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on here, my man. Guys, we'll link his stuff down below as well, either in the audio description or if it's on YouTube or Facebook, we'll put his links down below there as well. As always, hustle, hustle. God bless. Do not be afraid to think different, because those of us that think different are going to be the ones that change the world. Next week, we'll be back. It's the weekend now, but we'll be back Monday. We have Julie Stoian on for round 2, talking about how to collectively move on as a society in the world of or with post-Trump. So don't miss that, because that's going to be a great episode. We have some cool guests next week as well. We got Brad Gibb coming back on. We got Catherine Jones coming back on as well, which will be super, super fun. Joel, we'll see if we can get you to the #1 most downloaded episode very soon. Thank you so much. Guys, I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Take it easy, fam. Peace.